for Milk Steaming 103. We're going to start with the towel bin, how to prep your towel bin. We're going to talk about the details of using a steam wand, using milk pitchers, prepping the proper amount of milk, how to steam, and eventually pouring. So to begin, let's talk about how to prep your milk bin properly. You're going to want to take one of your sanitizer tablets. Always follow the instructions on the container. For this one, we need to break it in half because it's 1 tablet per gallon of water. Our red sanitizer bucket already has 2 quarts of water in it. So I'm actually going to break this apart to make it easier to dissolve in the water and add it to the water. I'm going to allow it to sit there and incorporate into the water. And when that is done incorporating and adding to the water, I'm going to add it to my towel bin. We'll pour some of that in with our actual milk towel so that the milk towel is covered. We do this for food safety reasons, not because we just like to have really wet milk towels. Set that aside and we can use that for other purposes as well later on. And you're going to want to set it underneath your bar. It should fit underneath there and underneath your steam wand. So this is your steam wand. It's very hot when on, please don't touch it, and the steam knob. Anytime you want to turn on your steam wand, use your milk towel. The best way to keep everything from getting super messy is just to use your milk towel to cover the steam wand and to keep the bin right underneath the milk towel when you're using it. So we're going to use a folded towel, bring it up to the steam wand and cover it, not touching the steam wand without keeping my hand below it. Should be off to the side. And to turn on the steam wand, you're going to want to turn it on all the way. Right now, we're going to purge it. Doesn't need to take too long, just a quick second. Set the milk towel back down. So again, I want to keep my milk towel folded, cover the steam wand, turn it on all the way, and off again. Shouldn't have to keep twisting the knob to get it on, just enough so that it's at full power. Okay? When I'm done, I'll just set the milk towel back underneath the bar. Alright, then we're going to talk about milk pitchers, using the proper milk pitcher, how to fill it to the proper height. Alright, so we have 3 pitchers. The small one, I call it a baby, is a 12-ounce pitcher. Middle one is a 20-ounce, and the largest is a 32-ounce pitcher. Our beverage sizes range anywhere from about 3 ounces all the way up to 20. So you need to know which pitcher you're going to use to steam for what size beverage. So this little guy, the 12-ounce pitcher, is actually used to steam everything smaller than a 12-ounce or 8 ounce or less. So the 20-ounce pitcher is used to steam 12 and 16-ounce beverages. Lastly, we have the biggest 32-ounce size to steam these 20-ounce beverages, just to start. So, again, we use the smallest one for our smaller beverages, for everything 8 ounces or less. And actually, when we steam any beverage 8 ounces or less, especially when you're starting, you're going to want to use the same amount of milk pretty much no matter what beverage you're making. So, proper fill lines in a pitcher like this. If we think about it logically, if this is a 12-ounce pitcher and we need to make an 8-ounce latte, we need to fill the cup with about 6 ounces of milk. That's because there will be 2 ounces of espresso in your 8-ounce latte. So you only really need the final 6 ounces of milk to finish filling it. It's pretty much at the base of the spout. So that would be for virtually all beverages 8 ounces or less. Then if we move on to the next pitcher up, for our 12-ounce and our 16-ounce beverages, we're going to have 2 different fill lines. So this is actually a finger length below the base of the spout for a 12-ounce latte. Actually a little bit more.
Okay.
And then we're going to go up to the base of the spout for the 16 ounce. Finally, for our 20 ounce beverages, we are going to use the big pitcher. And once again, we're going to follow that finger width below the spout rule for a 20 ounce to give us enough milk for that one. You're going to find that it's going to take a while for you to know how to feel just how much milk goes in your pitcher, but if you follow these basic rules for each size, it's a really good place to start. All right, in order to use a steam wand every day, we need to make sure we take care of it really well. So before steaming any of your beverages and directly after, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to wipe the steam wand, purge it, and wipe it again. So what that should look like is, again, bringing up your towel to the steam wand, keeping it covered, turning on, off, and wipe it again. Once again, keeping your towel bucket just below the steam wand to keep this area nice and clean. So again, before we steam any of our beverages, I'm going to pretend like I'm doing it. Bring out my steam wand, or my milk towel, purge, steam, and when I'm done, immediately wipe, purge, wipe, and put it back below. So this keeps milk from building up inside of your steam wand, and it also keeps the outside of the steam wand clean. We want to avoid any type of milk buildup or anything that could be inside the steam wand from getting into your beverages, because that's unsanitary. So, aside from that, to make sure that our steam wands are kept really well clean, we do take care of the bar twice a day at least, during a midday backflush and an end of day backflush. And during those times, what you want to do is also give your steam wands a nice steam wand bath. So we do a hot soak. Going over to your Fedco, fill up a steaming pitcher, high enough so that you can submerge your steam wand and allow it to soak for about 5 minutes. So I will purge my steam wand really well during my midday or end of day backflush. And then I'm going to allow this to soak for about 5 minutes to break down anything that could be built up inside or outside of the steam wand. Let's say I've got some really bad milk caking going on for some reason. I wasn't doing a good job wiping and purging my steam wand throughout the day. I might want to use a soap in order to help break down what's built up onto your steam wand. So I would just add that to my water. A little Dawn goes a long way. And allow that to soak in there for the 5 minutes. When it's done soaking, you're going to want to turn on your steam wand. It's going to be loud. It's going to be a little obnoxious, but it will help flush out anything that was in there, move things around. Turn it off. And then once again, do a really good purging of the steam wand. Be careful, we're always dealing with really hot things, hot steam wands, hot water, hot bar. Keep your hands protected and keep your knuckles away from the side of your pitcher. So there are specific ways to hold your steaming pitcher to make sure that your hand is comfortable and keep you from doing weird things while steaming. One of the ways I recommend is using your dominant hand and taking your 3 middle fingers to hold this part of the pitcher handle, and then securing the pitcher with your thumb and your pinky on the top. People sometimes feel more comfortable even using their non-dominant hand, which for me is my left hand, and then using their dominant hand to turn on the steam wand later on. But we'll go with the way I do it for now. Another way to hold your steam wand or your steam pitcher is even just like this, especially while steaming. The key thing I want to keep in mind is that my hand is securing the pitcher, it's not wobbly, it's not loose in my hand, and I don't have my knuckles against the side of the steam pitcher. if I kept my knuckles there, at some point they would burn during steaming. It's again about safety. Okay, so let's use some actual milk. Talk about pitcher placement, how to hold my steaming pitcher while I'm steaming. So basic steps include wipe, purge, wipe. Then I'm gonna bring up my pitcher, pull it out, and I'm gonna use this spout of my steaming pitcher to kind of guide where I'm going. If you look at the surface of the milk, you can picture this XY axis going across the surface of the top, and this tip of the steaming wand should not be at the very center of your XY axis. You're gonna wanna just off center a little bit, but not up against the edge of the pitcher when you submerge it. So once again, I'm gonna start straight up and down, and I'm going to put that spout just off center. And when I start steaming, I'm gonna wanna make sure that that spout is fully submerged. Okay. Something I also like to do to help keep my hands steady, because this hand is securing my pitcher, is take my other hand after I've turned on the steam wand and use it to help guide anything I'm doing. It's a second safeguard for keeping my hands steady. All right, so once I have good placement, I'll be able to turn on the steam wand all the way and I'll begin stretching. All right. So the three basic, well, actually two basic stages of steaming milk are stretching, which is when you turn the steam wand on. Immediately what I'm gonna do is bring my pitcher down just a little bit, still keeping the tip of the steam wand just off center. You can see that my pitcher is angled just a little bit. Okay, so when I turn the steam wand on, I'm gonna start bringing the pitcher down. I'm gonna be pretty dramatic. This is what I mean by bringing down. But actually, when you do it, it will just be a very slight movement until you start hearing a ch-ch-ch-ch, or even like a sh-ing sound. It shouldn't be too extreme. It shouldn't explode. You'll hear it in a little bit. But I'm gonna wanna hear that sound and keep allowing that sound to happen until I've stretched my milk as far as I want it to. So pretty much until my milk has grown about 1/4 to 1/3 in size. Okay, and then once I feel that it's grown enough, I can bring my pitcher up carefully, and that sound should stop. Bringing my pitcher up actually submerges that steam wand so that it's not as loud anymore and it's no longer stretching the milk. What it's going to be doing is polishing the milk and incorporating it. There's a vortex that's going to occur, and you want that good movement of your milk to move the bubbles around, move the air around, and keep forcing them throughout the entirety of the milk. I did discuss already how to stretch your milk, and actually ideally what you want to do is make sure that all of your milk is fully stretched by about 100 degrees. Getting that in and getting it done early is important to getting good milk texture. So I'm going to use a steam wand, or a thermometer and a steam wand, to steam my milk, paying attention to the temperature of the milk while I steam. So if I can stretch and add air before 100 degrees and then finish stretching and allow my milk to incorporate until I've reached my ideal temperature, which is between 145 to 155 degrees, then I can turn off my steam wand and I should have beautiful milk that looks like wet paint. So let's go ahead and try. Again, remembering to wipe my steam wand, purge it, and wipe it again. I'm going to bring up my steam pitcher so that the tip of the steam wand is just off center and submerged, and turn the steam wand on all the way. Bringing it down, I hear that ticking sound. I've done enough stretching and it's not at 100 degrees yet, so that's excellent. You can see the whirlpool forming as well. I'm using my hand to also feel the temperature of the milk, and I'm going to stop at about 130 degrees because this thermometer needs time to catch up, and you can see that it has now reached about 145, which is an ideal milk temperature. So I'm going to bring my pitcher down, take care of my steam wand. I can take out my thermometer, rinse it, now we should see the consistency of wet paint as I polish my milk. I could use a thermometer to gauge the temperature of the milk and when to stop. But as I go on, I can also learn just to feel the temperature of the milk. General rule is if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to drink. So when I get to that point where I've finished stretching my milk, I'm going to be using this hand, and actually I'll pulse on and off, touching the pitcher and not, so that my hand doesn't get used to the temperature of the milk. And keep feeling until I think the pitcher is too hot to touch. And at that point, it should also be too hot to drink or at the proper temperature for making a beverage. To calibrate yourself, you can use the thermometer to make sure that you're accurate. Allow the thermometer to get up to temp or to finish reading the temperature of the milk. And once you have a pretty good feeling, you should no longer have to take the time of using this and also the time of having to rinse it and clean it all of the time. In this pitcher, I just have some water and I have an empty cup in this hand. So when I hold my pitcher and my cup, I want to make sure that they are following another set of XY axes. So if I imagine there's an XY axis going across my cup, I'm going to want to make sure that this, I believe that is the Y-axis, X-axis, that's right, the X-axis is coming toward me. And then there's this invisible Y-axis here. And my pitcher should actually land really straight directly into that Y-axis when I'm pouring, or anytime I'm doing anything. I want to make sure that I stay perpendicular to my cup. If I don't, and I angle my pitcher into my cup, I'm going to start making some weird lines and my art is going to end up off-center. So once again, I've got my handle facing me. I'm going to hold my pitcher properly, and I'm going to start out with my cup at an angle, so my espresso is at an angle. I'm going to touch down in the deepest portion of the espresso, or the water. And once my latte reaches the lip of the cup, as you can see there, I will touch down and pour faster, pushing into the center. See white will appear, and as it level out, I'm going to lift up and draw through and hopefully still have some milk left. See that down there? At Stone Creek Coffee, when we hand off a latte or any drink, we want to make sure that we're doing it with care, so that the customer understands that we actually like being here and we want to take care of them. So, in order to do that, we hand off our latte art facing the customer. Anytime I give a drink, I want to make sure that the customer sees the heart. Okay. Which means I don't hand off a latte facing myself. And when I have it in a handled cup like this, that means that the handle will be to the customer's right. Unfortunately, it's a pretty right-handed world, and this is typically how it goes. Plus, when we pour, we learn that we wanted to hold the cup by the handle, and that's what causes the heart to be at the base of the cup. Right. If the barista is left-handed, we didn't cover this before, they would actually want to hold the cup with the handle facing away from them. So when they pour, the bottom of the heart ends up at the base of the cup too. Anytime you have a saucer that the cup goes on, you want to make sure that is also facing the customer. There are ways to make sure that it happens. For instance, this saucer says sip slowly on it, so if the customer lifts up the cup, they should be able to read it. That is another way of showing care. When I set my cup down, it should be facing them. Then when I call off the drink, I want to make sure that I use the customer's name and say what the beverage is. Austin, I have an 8-ounce latte all set for you. Thank you, Austin. Have a good day. Notice that I also thanked Austin. So I'm incorporating the 6 steps in my interaction, using his name and handing off the drink with a thank you. When pouring a latte for a customer in a to-go cup, I want to make sure that I have the name of the customer in my hand. And when I pour my latte, that will leave the latte art at the bottom of the latte art at the name on the cup. That way, when I hand off the cup, the bottom of my heart is facing the customer, and I can say, Austin, I have your latte all ready for you. But one thing I can't forget is, I'm sorry, Austin, hold on. I forgot your lid. It's the lid. Facing it toward the customer, careful not to touch the actual mouth of the lid. And again, also handing off the cup without touching the lip of the cup. Thank you, Austin. Have a great day. So that covers pretty much everything you need to know before you come to Milk 103 steaming. We talked about how to use a proper size pitcher, how to take care of our steam wand, how to steam milk, proper steps for pouring. Please don't forget to take the quiz before you come to class to recap this information. If you need, you can rewind and go back through the video in order to find the answers to the questions and prepare properly for your class. Come to class ready, bring your apron, and excited to learn.